Well, thanks so much for being willing to speak with me, Voices of Community, Erath County Oral History Project. I just wanted to first start with asking you to tell us your name and then to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, Margaret Ann Calahan, but nobody knows me by Margaret. It's Ann. I am a person of faith. I am a wife. I am a mother. I'm a grandmother and a great-grandmother. And I'm a retired teacher, although I'm not sure you ever retire from being a teacher.
So true, right?
Right.
Talk to me about how long you've lived in Erath County.
I moved here as a single parent with 2 young children in 1977.
1970. What was the town like in 1977? What was the university in the town like in 1977?
Wow, we were all in one building. I worked for 2 years as a administrative. Well, back then we were called secretaries for the chemistry department, and it was in the old science building, which is now psychology and math. And I worked for them for 2 years. That was the understanding when I was hired. And then I was able to go to school full time to come back and finish a degree that I had started. And then I was in the education building. At the time, we were up on the 3rd floor, and the administration and all the business offices were on the 1st floor of the Howe building.
Really?
Yes, yes, yes. And that was in probably, I came over here in 78, 79.
So was the Howe building built out differently back then, or are the
outer
offices?
structure is the same.
Uh-huh.
It was major renovation in probably about, 86 maybe, 87. Yeah. And at that time, we, quote, squatted over in the Grant building.
Okay.
And the dean's office was over that building's not even there anymore. It was Davis Hall.
Oh, okay.
And so that was where the dean, and actually, that was probably in 86, 87, yeah. Major renovation to this building.
On the inside, obviously.
On the inside. Nothing really, well, it was structurally, but it was all inside, but nothing to change the facade of the building.
And in terms of like the city itself, what do you recall the city being like?
Well, we didn't have 2 Sonics and we didn't have 2 McDonald's. Oh, and we didn't have, when I think about, gosh, that's a long time ago. We didn't have Henderson Junior High. We didn't have Gilbert in the public school system. We didn't have, Tarleton, when you think about the growth of Tarleton over those years, it's phenomenal. It's just unreal. You think about, this was the headquarters, this
Right.
building. And then, of course, then they built the big building on the front and the new science building, and it's just expanded like crazy.
So talk to me about your time in curriculum and instruction here at Tarleton, the position in which you served, etc.
Okay, in '86, I was teaching in Granbury, and I was called. I think I can't even remember who called me, but anyway, I called and asked if I would teach in the summer, because at that time I'd finished my degree, but I'd been teaching in Granbury, and so I came and taught child growth and development course in the summer, and the next summer in Ed Psych, and then I got a phone call, and they asked me if I would come and do SAIL with the teammate program. At that time in '86 was when SAIL was first literally born here at Tarleton.
Do you remember what that stood for?
Yeah, Summer Adventure in Learning.
Okay.
And then Teammate was Tarleton's model for accelerated teacher ed. We were very careful. It wasn't alternative, it was accelerated teacher ed. So I was asked if I would come and manage, develop, head up that summer program. And what it was a summer, I guess you would say a summer camp learning opportunity for students, and the teammate interns were required to develop units, thematic units, and work with those kids. So it gave our interns an opportunity to actually work with children, real life children, in a semi-school setting before they were actually served their year of internship as teachers.
Oh, that's incredible.
And I did that, and then I got a phone call from Dr. Jim Boyd. I will always remember this. And he asked me if I would be willing to come and take over ed psych classes for a professor that was on medical leave, part-time. Just would I come in and take over those classes. And he also asked me if I would serve as certification officer. And that was the time, probably before you even remember, that they had totally rewritten all the standards in teacher preparation, the state of Texas. And so every certification program had to be redone.
And what year was this? Do you remember?
1986.
Okay, I was in first grade. So.
Yeah, 86, 87, because we called them the 86 standards, and then they redid them and they were 88 standards. And so I literally worked, quote, part-time. There's no such thing as a part-time job at Tarleton State University, but I worked part-time and literally helped the different departments rewrite their curriculum for certifying teachers.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, like I said, in that spring, a professor had to take medical leave, so I ended up teaching ed psych. And it was ed psych to ag ed students. And so here I am, an elementary teacher, teaching secondary ag, well, they were ag ed students, they weren't even secondary students. So it was quite an experience for me. But it's interesting, you remember some of the students in that first class?
Sure.
And there's one that I still see, and we have funny conversations about that semester. So, yeah.
And then as you progressed here at Tarleton, you eventually found your way from ed psych.
Well, at that time, in curriculum instruction or in education and psychology, that's where the ed psych program, the ed psych course was. All the courses that required for certification were in the Department of Education and Psychology, which was part of the College of Ed and Fine Arts. And I did that, and gosh, when did I start full time? I did part-time for a year, and then it ended up being a full-time job, but I was certification officer for the College of Ed and teaching curriculum instruction classes, ed psych mainly, but once again, that had an edu prefix.
Right.
So it was still in this department. So I was a certification officer, and then I should have gone back and looked. Then the department was education and psychology, and that included ed leadership, psychology, counseling. Newbie was department head, and all the education courses that had the EDU prefix. And they decided to split the department and make a department of psychology and a department of curriculum and instruction.
Okay.
And so Dr. Newby and I always talk about we had a very amicable divorce. And he was named head of the Department of Psychology, and I was made the head of the Department of Curriculum Instruction.
And what year was that?
That's what I was trying to remember. Let's see, if I subtract 16 years from 2018, it'd be 1696, probably 90.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that about right? Yeah.
When did you retire?
8 years ago, 2018.
Okay, 2018? About that.
Yeah, about that time. I should have gone back and pulled up all that. I should have pulled my Vita up. I didn't even think about doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you say did you do your PhD work at A&M? Okay, so you finished at A&M.
No, I worked here as a student worker and a graduate assistant.
Uh-huh.
I finished my undergraduate degree in elementary education with an English certification, and then they talked me into staying, and I finished up a master's in educational leadership, or educational administration at that time. And it's a good story. So I had accepted a job to teach in Cleveland, and I don't know if Dr. Lamar Johansson has come up, but he was my husband's department head,
Okay.
and then later dean in the College of Arts or Biological Sciences, College of Science. And he stopped me one day in the parking lot, and he said, "Ann, you're not going to work, you're going to A&M, because if you stop going to school now, you will get caught up in your children's lives, and you will not ever go back."
Okay.
And so next thing I knew, I had a fellowship to A&M, and the kids and I packed up, and we moved to College Station in 1981, and we were there for 3 years, from 81 to 84. And that's where I finished my PhD in curriculum and instruction. I went down there under ed leadership, because that's what I had qualified under. You have to take those qualifying tests. That's what I'd qualified under. And I got down there and I took my first curriculum and instruction course and fell in love and switched to curriculum and instruction.
Did you remember working under anybody specifically?
Yeah, I did. I worked under at A&M.
At A&M.
A&M. My Jim Croct was my advisor. And then, I cannot remember the community ed people's name. That's terrible. And then my major professor was Dr. Godwin, Doug Godwin. And he was an early childhood person. And he's the one that had the TEA grant to look at the impact of parent involvement with children.
So then after you finish at A&M, you make your way to Erath County.
Right.
Okay.
Moved back here. John and I get married. And I teach in Granbury for 3 years, fourth grade. Loved my fourth graders.
Right.
And like I said, then Jim Boyd called and offered me that job. And we had a new baby, and it just seemed like an opportunity to take a, quote, part-time job. And I've been, and literally, it was in curriculum instruction at the times, or education, I beg your pardon. At that time, we were education. And that was where I spent my whole career here.
Can you talk about the community?
Because
the community is different. Well, it's bigger.
Right. Okay.
Tarleton's bigger.
Right.
But I'm interested to know, in the 80s, right, into the time where you were in charge of the Department of Curriculum Instruction here at Tarleton, what was it like? Because I know what it's like now, right? So I'm interested to know what it was like then.
Okay, I will tell you, when Jim Boyd came here as dean, we began to build relationships with the public schools, not at Stephenville, and those relationships needed to be built. And at that time, the teammate program, so we were looking for places for our interns. And if you look at what's happened with teacher growth and open positions and closed positions, although Stephenville has still been pretty hard to get hired in because everybody wants to teach here, especially after they've gone to school here. But it was, like I said, we were a one McDonald's and we were a one Sonic. We didn't have Starbucks. We didn't have. We did have a Cold Smoke, or it was called Cold Smoke across Barefoot at that time when they opened. There was a place you could go over there and get coffee. Later, when the McDonald's across the street, that was kind of the gathering place where some faculty went over and had coffee, and there you meet the community. I think I was fortunate because we had kids in school, and so that builds this community is very school and sports oriented, and so you build your community around your church, your faith, around your kids who are involved in the sports around the school. You're in the band, your kids are in the band, so you're a member of the band fan. And this town turns out to support the kids in recreation activities, public school activities, all the sports, football, basketball. Back then we had football basketball, track, and volleyball. Now we have soccer, and so that even provides more involvement. They built a Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts were really large in this community. I was a Girl Scout leader, active in church, and people in this community have just always big supporters. The Heart of Gold that we have every year at the high school, where they raise money to fund someone who has had a child or an illness or something, and they raise, $20,000-$30,000. It's just a very giving community, and very supportive of all activities that children are involved in, from little all the way up. The rec program's always been huge. Kids were a part of that. And then in the schools, theater is huge. And those theater kids from Stevensville, trickle into Tarleton. So it's always been a kind of a ground. And in 86, 87, when Jim Boyd was dean, we started what we call an Effective Schools project, and it's where we invited the public schools, Stephenville being one of the major participants, where the campuses came in, and we had top name. We had, when you think about the people who were 7 heavens of the faculty men, that man came and was here. And we had Carl Glickman. We had all kinds of people come and speak to schools, community schools from Erath County, and Alvarado was in that program for years, so reaching out. And we built positive relationships with public schools because the Department of Curriculum and Instruction and the faculty here they were dedicated to being teachers and to supporting the students to become the best teachers they could be for the public schools in Texas, in this area. And we were recognized for that. All across the state, Tarleton was recognized for the teachers that we produced. And the community recognized that. And the schools supported us in that. And we had their support.
Now, the Effective Schools.
The Jim
Is that
Boyd
the
Effective
journal?
Schools. It was the journal.
It was
yes,
the journal.
It was the journal. Yeah.
And that journal is, I've seen several of them in the Portal of Texas History, which is where they're archived.
Yes.
But that journal is no longer.
Should it be in the library?
No, it's here, but
Okay.
but I don't think it's in. It's
Because
active anymore.
that Effective School project was anyway. That's another story.
It is.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Jim Gentry talks a lot about the Effective School project, and I'm assuming he was here.
Yes, he was a big part of it.
When that was happening.
Some picture photos.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
we
absolutely.
had a great time. We had a retreat every spring, and there was a theme, and the schools came and we participated, and we interacted one-on-one. We knew those public school teachers and those public school administrators.
That's incredible, and I think that's the connection that I'm hoping to see and want, right, as we, as professors in curriculum instruction, find our way, let's just say, out of the field, right? And some of us have been out of the field for years, and other of us have been out of the field for 4 years, 5 years, whatever it might be. But our teachers are in the field,
right,
and that bridge needs to remain down, right, as opposed to up.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
And I think that was the advantage that we had, because when we hired, when we were in a hired position, we made sure that we hired the teachers that really had public school experience,
right,
and that they had gone through a traditional program, and that it was important for them to work to ensure that our teachers, that our students, when they left, were ready for what the public schools needed.
Right.
It wasn't what we thought was best. It was because we had that interaction and that rapport with our public school partners that we, I think that's why we we were so successful with what we did.
Well, talking about the community connection,
Right.
you mentioned some interesting things about how Stephenville itself didn't have. You mentioned two McDonald's, two Sonics, these kinds of
Yeah.
things, but you mentioned that McDonald's was a gathering place, and so this question here about community gathering places. Where did people gather? Be it the faculty, or where did you find time to, or the place where you and your family would gather outside of home?
Outside of home.
Right.
Well, first of all, I, I think the church.
Sure.
That's where you build those relationships, and that you feel like that your children, your kids are where they need to be, and you know that there's a support system for there. But then once again, you could go down to the city park on a weekend, and there's something going on everywhere, and there's family, and even if there's not a game going on, or a child's not involved with whatever is going on, baseball or
Right.
soccer or tennis, or not very much tennis, but lots of baseball, lots of football in this town. They started at a young age and play all the way through. The team that just won the state championship have been on a team together, I think, since they were in rec football.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just.
You're talking about Coach Doty's team?
Yes.
Right.
The seniors this year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. They have been playing together since rec football here in town.
Right.
So, I think a lot of it is more around family, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And like you can go to a basketball game here, and there's people there that don't even have kids in school at the time, that may have at one time, but they're big supporters of what goes on at the school, at the public schools.
Right.
And same thing here at Tarleton. You can see people at the basketball games and at the football games that really, that's their connection to Tarleton.
Right.
That's part of the community. So.
And what about traditions? The idea, like, what are there traditions that you were involved with, your family was involved with here in Erath County, Stephenville? As an example, my wife and I moved here 2004 in the fall, where we don't have any kids, and we didn't go home for that Christmas, so we spent Christmas Day at First Baptist Bryan as part of their.
They have a Christmas.
The Meals on Wheels, delivering meals out to. We were out in Dublin,
Yeah.
delivering meals. So what kind of traditions and different things have you all been involved with since you've been in Stephenville?
The Moolah Festival that they have, the concerts in the park that they've had for years and years, the Faith Lutheran Church has what do they celebrate? Anyway, German. What? I can't remember now when it is, but anyway, where they have a big open to the community. I think part of it, I think of the reason I'm having a little bit of trouble is we were so caught up in Tarleton. I mean, when you and your spouse are both work at Tarleton, you're nearly your whole life just becomes caught up in Tarleton. In fact, my kids will tell you that they thought that they had everybody knew who they were, and they pretty much came up here after school, or so I think for us it was. Anytime there was something going on in the community that was family oriented, we were there. If that makes sense.
Sure it does.
Our favorite place to eat was probably out at Agave, which isn't even any there anymore. It's City Hall or whatever it's called now, Purple Goat. But there used to be a cafe out there called Agave.
Okay.
And that's where we go and eat. And you meet people and that kind of thing. We had a roller skating rink, and that's where you had birthday parties. That's where you took your kids and you had birthday parties at the roller skater rink, which is no longer there.
Where was that?
It's out Pigeon Road, going out. Yeah, you go out 108, and Pigeon Road goes this way, and there's a feed store right there, and that's an old roller skating rink. And that's where you had birthday parties. You had birthday parties there or at McDonald's. And so I guess those are some of the, traditions.
Sure. And what? So talk about family traditions. So what did you and John, like in terms of family traditions, have?
Family holidays are with family. Years ago, like every other Christmas, everyone comes to our house, and the other Christmas they go to the other side of the family, the in-law side of the family. So that's one of our traditions. In fact, this next week, John and I'll be down in Brady. My husband is a huge traditional country western fan and a huge dancer, and that's something we learned to do together. And so we'll be in Brady listening to all the people that he's danced to for years.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That we've danced to for years. So, and there many a time, and if you were to ask Shelby, our youngest, she can tell you, yeah, she was going to Tarleton football games and Stephenville band concerts and Stephenville games from the time she was 6 months old until, because her older brothers and sisters were in the band, and so that's where we were.
Sure.
That's where you were.
Sure.
That's where you were.
In terms of, the celebrations and gatherings,
Yeah.
Christmas time, Thanksgiving. How have you seen the community support? Because holiday times can be
Right.
sometimes lonely for folks. How
Right.
have you seen the community support itself during those times for people who?
Well,
who are
I
in
think
need?
what the First Baptist Church does is phenomenal. That's their day. We always have a Thanksgiving service. Christmas is caught up with Advent services and Advent meals on Wednesday nights, and then I think our holidays have always been with family, if that makes,
Of course.
because we had family here, or we had family that we went to see and visit. John's parents were up on the high plains of Texas outside of Floyd-Ada, and my family was in Winters, Texas, and so our holidays were spent with family, and those were our traditions. Yeah.
Can you talk about when you were department chair in curriculum instruction? What kind of dynamic did you try and build among your faculty when it comes to the relationships? Right, you started talking about relationships right away with the school. Sometimes the real deep relationships can be very transactional. We see each other at work, but it's a relationship at work. So how did you try and build your faculty into a group of people? Because you mentioned you brought them on board purposefully.
Right.
Talk about that.
How you build that community.
Sure.
I think that was probably if you ask someone, that's probably my strength. One of my strengths was building those relationships. We'd have a Christmas potluck, and everybody bring a potluck, and Dr. Newby and I would provide the meat. He would I'd do briskets, and he would do ham, or we'd switch off there. So that was just a part of what we did. It was every Christmas. We usually had a Christmas open house where we invited faculty from both departments to our house during Christmas before the break really started. When we had department meetings, I always had food out of my pocket,
Right.
not out of the department's pocket. It was just important to me. I'm not a sitter. I don't stay in my office. I made sure that I get up and walk the halls and check in with people and see what's going on. How are you doing? Faculty members tell me what's going on with your family. If somebody tried to remember birthdays,
Sure.
we tried to celebrate birthdays. Just any way that you could build that rapport and that relationship with your faculty.
And what about faculty to student? Right. So among faculty, you're talking about building the relationships.
Relationship.
What was the faculty to student relationship like back then? I say back then, not that
you know what? Because you had students that were assigned to you as advisors, And so you built that relationship with the student that you saw semester after semester, not just one semester. Or one semester for class, or if you're lucky, you might have them twice. And that was very important. I think that's one. And there's also a side of me that knows that's just one more thing that faculty was asked to do. But I really think that's what built those relationships as much as anything else. And I think that was one of my strengths. Advising students is a puzzle, helping them figure out their classes and how they're going to graduate when they want to graduate and what fits best with their time frame and their family. And I think that was a really strong way that we built relationships with our students. And then faculty was here. We weren't, we didn't do that much online. It was face-to-face, and that's how you build relationships.
What would you say was if you can recall a whether it was a challenge or maybe not a challenge, maybe it was like a celebration of some sort where that you can recall, just whether it be between you and a faculty member or you and a faculty member and a student. Does any memory stick out over the years of just something incredible that happened, overcoming some kind of a struggle, maybe where you're trying to put a puzzle together, for example, and they did it, or a student was maybe, what am I thinking about? An introverted student who wanted to be a teacher, and then the light bulb came on, and they blossomed. Do you know that kind of thing?
I don't know. Do you know at one time that we had a very structured admission process?
I did not. I do not.
Very, very structured. There was a writing sample, and then there was also an interview.
Do you mean for teacher preparation? Okay, so we have something similar now.
Okay.
An interview and an application process. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And I had a student, and I still am friends with her on Facebook, and she just left to go into behavior management with a private school or something. I'm not sure, but she's taught all these years. But she really, really struggled to get that GPA up, and she kept coming back, and we talked about, okay, you're going to have to redo this, and she never gave up. She just persevered. And to see her walk across that stage, and then to see her get that job, and to go out there and be in the field and teaching, and knowing that she's making a difference because she could relate to the children and the kids who had problems. So, and then to celebrate births and marriages and birthdays with your students. We always tried to, when I had students, especially in that, what we call that block class, that last semester before they went out to student teach, we always celebrated a student's birthday. I knew when they were, and I would also ask them their favorite song at the beginning of the semester, and I would do a playlist for that class so that during downtime or when they were working in groups or something, I would be playing their music, and they were, oh, Dr. Calahan, that's my favorite song.
Right.
So I think those are the things that stand out to me. And then the students that I'm still friends on Facebook with, I have one who was struggling with her identification, and she came to me and talked to me one time, and now she's happily married with a baby out in California with a partner.
Now, were you in charge of the Department of Curriculum Instruction long enough to hire anybody who graduated as a Tarleton teacher in our department? Did that ever happen for you?
Oh, actually, Jennifer McGregor.
Okay.
I had Jennifer and Kyle in class before, when they were students here, and this is a story I can tell you. So, Jennifer, you know Jennifer.
I do.
She talks.
I do.
90 miles an hour.
We live in Jennifer's house that her and Kyle raised her kids in.
And on Charlotte?
On Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My daughter had a house across from that for a
We
while.
had
That
no
was her
idea
first
until I
instance.
mentioned it. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Anyway, So Jennifer, and of course Kyle was very quiet, but they were in my ed psych class and they were sitting there, and Jennifer would blah, 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 and I'd go over and I'd stand beside her, and she'd stop, and I'd go do what, continue with whatever I was doing or asking the questions, and I'd look up and there she goes again. So I'd go over, and one day, I don't know how many times I did this, not on the same day, but over the semester, and finally I walked up to her one day. I said, you have a choice. You may either choose to be quiet or you may take your books and leave. And I tell that story. I told that story when I was teaching on her. Mm-hmm. And the kids would go and ask, the students would go, and she'd say, oh, yeah, that's true. She did it. So, yeah, those are the things you remember.
And so you hired Jennifer
to teach reading.
Oh, fantastic.
Reading. Yeah.
Right. Because mm-hmm. I know she's Tarleton through and through.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. See, that's a neat connection there.
Yes. Yeah.
And that doesn't often happen.
Yeah.
Where somebody graduates as a Tarleton teacher, spends time in the public schools, and then
in fact, they went out to Tech, and that's where she got her master's in reading, and then they moved back to Stephenville.
Oh wow, fantastic!
Yeah. So.
Well, we've talked about food a little bit. Mm-hmm. Right, you talked about briskets, and you talked about all these kinds of things.
Left my recipe in the car.
Well, that's okay because we're not gonna show the recipe on here on camera, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm interested in is like a meal or food that reminds you of home. Like what is the thing that when your kids want you to make something, or when John wants you to make something, what is that meal?
Well, the meal is macaroni and cheese.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And what the youngest daughter calls old-fashioned chicken, which is chicken strips and mashed potatoes and gravy. But a family recipe that has come down through, it was my aunt's recipe, but it was a very special aunt and uncle. I spent part of my early years living with them. She makes what we call monkey bread, or what she calls monkey bread, but it's not when I say monkey bread to someone in the outside, they think it's that cinnamon bread with all that, but no, this is just a white yeast bread. And so that, it doesn't matter when all the kids are coming home, we have to have monkey bread. And now, because there's so many kids and grandkids and great-grandkids, I have to make 2 batches of monkey bread. And that's our traditional Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving bread. And my son makes it now, and my oldest granddaughter makes it now.
And how many kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids do you have?
We have 3 kids.
Okay.
And I have 6 grandkids, 3 boys and 3 girls. One girl has 3 boys, and the other girl has 3 girls.
Okay.
And then the oldest grandson has 2, a boy and a girl, and the oldest granddaughter has a daughter.
Okay.
So.
Fantastic.
6, 3, 6, 3.
I think it's really neat sometimes. We were at a Long John Silver's, and I was looking at there were 2 families sitting there with my wife. We don't have any children, like I think I mentioned, but we're sitting there with my wife, and you could see 3 generation, grandchild, daughter, grandmother, however it is you want to look at it, right? And it's always incredible to see that. I remember there was an old Mexican restaurant I grew up down in Harlingen, Texas, called Las Vegas Cafe. And it was fun when my grandfather, my dad, and I would be there. Because the generations are there. It's a place that my grandfather had been for ages, and then my dad went there when he was a kid, and so those are always special times.
Yeah.
And then when you can't do that anymore because somebody passes on, well, then you don't have it anymore. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so monkey bread.
Yes.
All right. Now, who in the family usually did the cooking? Was that you, or was that John, or did y'all share the duties?
Me.
Okay, so
no, that was me.
Right. And I guess in terms of like what you were cooking for him, right? What was that thing? I mean, you guys. So you guys. When were y'all married?
We got married in '84.
Okay. And what was the thing that you cooked for him to make him fall in love with you? Do you remember
I don't know
that?
about that. It was probably chicken fried steak, mashed
Okay,
potatoes, and gravy.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kind of like the food that sticks with you.
Yeah. Well, also, and because his, excuse me, my father and he were big dove hunters.
Okay.
So, fried dove,
Uh-huh.
mashed potatoes, and
Absolutely.
gravy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely.
And catfish. But I didn't cook it. He cooked the catfish.
Okay. And why not? Why didn't you cook the catfish?
Because he does it outside in one of those big fryers
Sure,
with peanut
sure.
oil and yeah.
Absolutely. So, does everybody like the monkey bread?
Oh gosh, yes.
Okay. Because sometimes
Oh,
there
yes.
okay.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I thought we were going to have some left over Christmas because we had some left over when we all got it from the table, and I went to pack some for the kids to take home. And I said, "Well, where's the monkey bread?" And the daughter said, "The grandkids ate it all, so it was gone."
So it brings lots of memories.
Lots of memories.
Right.
Lots of memories.
How long would you say that's been passed down from?
Gosh, well, I'm what 78 years old.
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll be 79 next month. So gosh, I can remember my aunt making it when I was probably 5 or 6.
Wow.
I mean, yeah,
So it comes down from your aunt through to you, and then now all the way down.
yeah. In fact, the recipe that I copied is hers. She wrote it out for me.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fantastic.
yeah.
But is that the recipe you're going to share?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, okay, awesome. So, if you had to kind of sum up Erath County, like what makes this place special to you?
The people.
Tell me why.
Because when someone needs something in this community, the community responds and takes care of them. It doesn't matter whether you're a family or a child or, and I don't know that has really changed, even though we've grown. I think it was the same thing at Tarleton. I don't know that I could say that now. Yeah, we've grown too big, too fast.
Right.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you hit the nail on the head. When you grow too big too fast, the roots they don't go as deep.
Right.
And it takes more time for that to happen.
Right. It does.
Right.
It does. Yeah. And I don't know. I didn't even mention. I was on the school board for 21 years.
Right. No, you didn't mention that.
Yeah. I was on the school board for 21 years from 2001 to 2022.
Okay.
And served as president for 18 of those years.
And that's
so,
Steve Villiste.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when you ask what my investment in the community is, it was really through. That's how I got to know a lot of people, and even the people. It's really interesting because even today, when you go out for a bond issue and you have these open forums and people come and talk against it, and you're what's the word? You're trying to smooth feathers and not really make anyone really upset because what you think you're doing is what's best for the kids in the community, but yet people are concerned about cost and all that. And some of the people I can remember, Mr. Nix, he was on the city council, and then when Central Elementary at one time was what we call, it was original building built by WPA and
Right.
it was O'Mallow. And so when you go in and you say, no, we're going to tear that building down and build a new school, and all these people who've been in that building and remember that building, they're against it because you're taking away their memories.
Sure.
And so today, to know that I can still see Mr. Nix and we can say hello and we're friends.
Right.
So I think that's what I take most from this community is that even though there may be differences, the people that you really care about you, and you're going to work together to work it out.
That's the best kind of community to live in,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
What do you know, when we train Tarleton prepared teachers, right?
We educate them.
We educate.
That
When we
is
educate,
that is something I have always, we
yes.
don't train them, we
When we
educate them.
educate, see, she's serving as my department chair now. When we educate Tarleton prepared teachers, most of them are young ladies.
Yes.
And traditionally, young ladies will follow their husband wherever he may move. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I think I'm noticing about a rural community, because this is the first time we've lived in a rural community like this,
Okay.
is that people, at least in the schools, sometimes are looking for more opportunity, more money, right? Where urban districts can pay more
Right.
money than our rural school districts can. And I wonder, what is it, in your opinion, that you think keeps people excited about planting roots in places like Stephenville, or places like Lipan, or places like Morgan Mill, or these kinds of like rural areas? What do you think it is about rural that's special?
I think it's the people in those rural areas and the families that they've raised. They're much more family oriented. They tend to be, and you don't have the big problems that you have in the big cities. I mean, yes, we have homeless here. Yes, we have drug issues here and alcohol issues, but most of the children and students in smaller rural schools come from a working background, and so they respect they respect their elders. There's still amount of respect just for adults, and I'm not sure that you see that in some of the larger communities. And part of that is just what's going on in our culture. You got mom and dad who are both working. There's nobody at home when they come home. I think it's just a lot of issues. But when you live in a rural area, most of these kids have grown up in the area and they've had to work. They on the farm or on the ranch or in the house. They've had to help out at home. They've not been just turned free,
Right.
to roam.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying some of them, but still,
Right.
generally, when you speak in generals and you're a sociologist, you understand the culture.
Sure.
Yeah. So.
Yes, that makes sense. What do you hope that younger generations understand about our community here?
That it is a safe place most of the time. It's a good place to raise a family. It's an excellent place to raise a family. It's close enough to the Metroplex that if you want to go to play, we have great plays right here at the high school at Tarleton, but if you want more of that nightlife, it's 65 miles down the road, so don't go through Weatherford anymore.
Right.
Yeah. And the hospitals, Fort Worth hospitals are great. So if we can't take care of you here, then it's not that far to Fort Worth. So yeah. And there's ways you can get involved in the community. I'm a volunteer for Cross Timbers Family Services. I volunteer at the hospital on 1 day a week. You can help with Habitat for Humanity. There's all ways to get involved. Our Legacy Center
Right.
has all kinds of opportunities. So if you want to be involved in this community, there's a place for you.
Yeah.
You may just have to reach out.
Oh, for sure.
And that doesn't count what the different churches offer. So.
One thing I'd like to know is, because John served as a department head for
50 years.
For 50 years?
No, 26.
Oh, okay.
26. I'm sorry, he taught for 50 years.
And was he in biology or physics or
No,
what?
he is biology. He's a plant physiologist.
Okay.
And Dr. Lamar Johansson and John had the same major professor at Texas A&M, a plant physiologist. So when a position came open here, Lamar taught here, and then he went to A&M and finished or did his PhD, and then came back here. and was department head, and he had an opening, and he called John and asked John if he would like that position. It was in 1974. John had finished his research. He was once again one of those working on the dissertation and still doing research, and single. So it was a good opportunity for him, and he came.
Can you talk about what it was like to both be department chairs at the same time at Tarleton?
And one's in science and
Yes.
the other one's in humanity.
Absolutely. Yep.
Oh, actually, I think it gave him an appreciation for education. I taught, and he saw what I did as a classroom teacher. He even came and did science lessons for my fourth graders in his lab coat, and so I think he understood the need. He also took a couple of classes in teaching at
Really?
A&M. Yeah. And he also, Jim Boyd was a very dear friend of his, and Bill Larmer is a dear friend of his. So he had connections. He had, when we got together as a department, outside of, the building, he was there too. So I think it helped him have an appreciation for what we did.
Right.
And of course, I didn't know he's a plant physiologist, so I really didn't know a whole lot about his job, but I sat in on his class so when I was, going a student here. And he's the one who really, he's a family friend. I'd known him, and he's the one who really encouraged me to come here. And I thought about coming here as a nursing student because they had just started the nursing program. But then I fell in love. I don't know, I had worked at a program up in Connecticut, a ESL program up there, and an ABE program, and I decided, no, I think I really want to teach. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I
so
imagine that dynamic is
it was,
interesting.
and he served on the Teacher Education Council, and I served on the Teacher Education. I'm not saying that we didn't have conflicts at times, because we did.
Sure.
We did, because we're coming from different perspectives.
Right.
We're very different perspectives, but it didn't impact us that much.
And it interests me because there's some, I don't know if there's any department heads, but Tom and Eileen Falconberry are both deans,
Right.
Right, and that's interesting to me. That dynamic of high level leadership, married folks who've been at Tarleton for a long time, and I'm sure there are others that I don't know. Right, that's a real family, deeply rooted connection, and that's when purple's moving through the bloodstream, it's definitely doing that.
Yeah.
Within that family, and just the connections that I'm sure that they have in the community, and that others do too, and that you and John do as well.
Yeah.
And then all the students who've come through, and the faculty members who have come through, and it's incredible to think about the file folders that you could pull from, right? That are in that filing cabinet of memory.
Yeah,
right?
and it's one time we had stopped in Weatherford to eat after a doctor's appointment. And we walk in, and I'm in front of him, and he's behind me. And there was this couple sitting over here, and she looked at me and she said, "Is that Dr. Calahan?" I said, "Yeah, Dr. Calahan." She said, "No." I said, "Yes." And it was this woman was in his very first class in 1974.
Wow.
In that big lecture hall over in that old science building.
Uh-huh.
And he remembered her. So there's some students you just remember. I don't
Right.
know, I can name several.
Right.
And incidents, and I can remember when all this was started going on, and I had students who were dreamers, and they were so worried they didn't know whether to finish the degree or what was going to happen, because they weren't going to be able to be. They just didn't know, but they come and sit down and talk to you, and you assure them that even if you don't get that certificate, you still have that degree. So you just keep working at it.
I'm interested because of the time that you were here. I'm thinking about, you got here in 86?
Yeah. Well, as a student from 77 to 81, and then back in '86.
Right. I remember watching the Challenger on TV that year.
Oh, I was in a 4th grade class.
So
Oh
talk
my
about
gosh.
that because we're talking about these ideas and of where now 4th grade here
No, in
in
Granbury.
Granbury. So close enough. I mean, I know
Yeah,
it's Hood County,
yeah,
but
yeah.
talk about that from the teacher. I've never asked my 1st grade teacher this. So I'm interested to know from the perspective of a teacher what that was like that day. Were y'all watching it on TV
No,
like
we were
everybody
not.
else?
We were
Okay.
not watching. For some reason, I mean, there were some classes that were literally watching it on TV,
Uh-huh.
but for some reason, we weren't. We were. But they came over the PA system and announced it, and you're just like, what? And there's a teacher up there, and then I mean, we stopped and we just had a moment of silence.
Right.
And I said, hey, anybody want to say anything or tell me what you're feeling or tell me what you're thinking? Sit down and jot down your thoughts. I had one student who wrote a poem. And so we literally just stopped what we were doing because you cannot, there's a time to teach and a time not to teach.
Sure.
And I think we learn a different lesson. Maybe it's not a textbook lesson, but we learn that there's a reason to care and to stop and to take notice. And then I'll never forget where I was when the towers came down.
That was my next question.
Sarah Tyler and I had walked over to the Student Center, who knows for what, and a faculty member here. And we had walked over there, and all of a sudden, all these kids are standing around the monitor, and some are crying, and we're like, what is going on? And coming back to the building and pulling up the TVs here, so that we could watch and see what was going on. So
What was September 12th like here and on after September 11th? How did the community respond?
Oh,
I was in College Station.
you were in College
I
Station at the
was.
time. You don't ever forget where you were.
Right.
I think, and in some ways, for this community, that's a long way. That's another world. Does that make sense?
Sure.
New York City is another
course.
world, another world. But I think we all just prayed and we thought, and what can we do? I felt like my hands were tied. I didn't know what I could do. I mean, we came back. I came back over here. I can't remember what I was teaching that day, but I remember we looked at a map to see where it was. We looked at where the planes were coming from, trying to. And then I remember people were scared. Where are we going to be next? We're going to bomb here. We're going to take over our water systems. How do we prepare for what might happen next?
This is the place, this is the first place we've lived where there hasn't been local news.
Oh.
And when we lived in the Rio Grande Valley, local news. Bryan College Station, local news. Stephenville, so it makes me wonder if we're getting our news these days from, say, Facebook or, other things like that. How were what was?
How do you know what's going on?
Sure, yeah.
I
Talk
know.
about that
Yeah,
if you can.
Yeah, it bothers me. I mean, for years we subscribed to the Stephenville Empire Tribune, and then all of a sudden that's no more. You can read the Flash on Facebook, but does that really give you a picture of the world? And now the Dublin Citizens, a lot of people have started subscribing to the Dublin Citizen because it has Stephenville news in it. And then I think, this is terrible, but at my age you're going, well, how will I know if someone dies?
Right.
So you subscribe to Stephenville Funeral Home and you subscribe to Lacey Funeral Home, so you at least know that. And word of mouth. But it worries me do I really know what's going on around me?
Right.
Yeah.
And you brought us through COVID
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
I taught my grandson, who was a kindergartner, for 13 weeks a grade that I swore I would never teach.
So what was
Yeah.
Tarleton like during that time?
I don't know because I wasn't teaching. I'd retired.
You'd retired by then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My husband hated it. He
Okay.
was still teaching. He hated it because he is not a technology person. I mean, no, he is not. He is the guy who stands at the board and writes, or stands on at a overhead projector and writes on the screen, and it was not a good time for him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also his labs. I mean, that's
They just kind of went away for a while, right?
like it's kind of. I mean, how do you have an online lab?
Right.
I mean, I know there are lots of people that do it, but for him to make that adjustment at his age, no, it didn't happen. Yeah. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think we lost a group of kids because all of a sudden the face-to-face relationship and the face-to-face interactions weren't that important.
Now, were you on the school board at that time? Do you,
No.
you-
20, no. Mm-mm.
Okay, so you're not
22.
22, okay.
Yeah, 22. That's when I got off, in May
Okay.
of 22. So not really.
But you were on the school, were you
I
on the school
wasn't-
board
yeah.
during COVID?
Yes, yes.
And were you president during that time?
Yes. I was
Interesting.
president every year until my last year.
Okay, so you're president of the school board in Stephenville ISD during COVID.
Just for part of it, though.
Just for part of it.
Wasn't it 22, 23, 21?
2020.
2020, yeah.
March 2020,
yeah.
and then,
Yeah.
right.
We wrapped up to get everybody online. And like I said, I was retired then, but I literally taught kindergarten. That's when I realized this is not working,
Yeah.
especially for young children.
Right.
I mean, you know, can you imagine? You don't have kids yet, but can you imagine a 5-year-old, 6-year-old trying to sit in a seat and watch this screen where it's just
Right.
like, yeah.
What was Stephenville like during that time?
Shut down.
Sure.
Shut down. Literally shut down. Yeah.
Just like everywhere else.
Yeah, everywhere else. Yeah, yeah. And thankfully, Stephenville ISD had already moved to iPads and computers. And so kids had access. I'm sorry, that's not true. They had the tool, but kids did not have access.
Was it an
Because we have
internet?
so many rural, yeah. And even the town people, there were some, I mean, couldn't afford it. And so they set up, I think Walmart set up a place, and was it McDonald's? Several of the other, where kids could go and plug in.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Because we had hotspots that some of the kids who didn't have access could check out and take.
Right.
So
To get cellular service and connect their devices.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So we really lost a group of kids, several groups of kids, because not any of their own fault. They
Right.
just lack of access.
Now, I know that my colleagues, in particular, somebody that you hired, Jim,
Yeah.
talks about COVID, right, and having to move everything online and his involvement with that back then, and just the challenges associated with teacher preparation and all these kinds of things during that time.
Because
are very unique.
you couldn't do field experiences.
Right.
You couldn't go out in the schools, and yeah, it had a dramatic effect, I think, on education.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And my grandson, who's in 6th grade now, is struggled with math for quite a while.
Right.
So
And that's
he's
part.
caught up now. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's part he didn't have.
Right.
I think about all the other students in his class who didn't have a grandmother who knew kind of what she was doing. I mean, I ordered Cousineer or not blocks so that we could. If you don't have an understanding of concept of numbers, then how are you going to succeed in math?
Right.
And so, yeah.
Well, to bring it home,
Yes.
is there anything you'd like to share that we haven't shared yet? Something that you kind of came in with that I definitely want to tell this story. Is there anything like that?
I guess, I think it's important that we tell our stories, whatever our stories are.
Right.
And I think that's how we build relationships, especially teacher to students relationships. And I think it's important to listen. I think this community has a story, and I'm glad to see that you're telling it. The school district has a story. I understand that those relationships are being built again.
Sure.
And that's my hope for this community and Tarleton, is that we can rebuild the relationships with the community and the schools that we worked with all these years.
Right.
And,
Yes.
and be once again one of the leaders in the state.
Right.
And teacher.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what do you want people to remember about your story?
That I'm an that I have that what I have done has made a difference in people's lives. That I've given my heart and soul.
That's great. Thanks so much for being here, and
Yeah.
I'm so glad to meet you. And
Yeah,
you
me
are
too.
you are having an impact because I'm I'm being impacted by somebody who you hired, right? So there's still a connection there,
Yeah.
right? Impacted positively, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
thanks so much, Ann, for being here.
Oh, I hope I did what you wanted to do. I'm like, oh,
No. I mean, stories come out, and
yeah.
we have questions, but the conversation is a conversation. It's not a rigidly structured interview.
Yeah.
So thanks so much. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
I have been very, very fortunate, and I have had the support of this community and this university. I would not be where I am today if it were not for the people here.
That's amazing.
The Jim Boyds, the Bill Larmers, the Lamar Johanssons,
Right.
and the John Callahans.
Sure, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Thank you so
And
much,
that doesn't
Ann.
even count with family. I mean, real family.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
You're a gem. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks for the opportunity.